He was too small to be a giant, too wild to be controlled, too human to be perfect. Yet Diego Armando Maradona carried nations, defied empires, and turned football into theatre.
It was the hand of God. I said it was the hand of a rascal.
He cheated with his hand, conquered with his heart, and lived like a hurricane. Loved by millions, hunted by demons, he was brilliance and disaster in equal measure, the storm that destroyed everything in its path. To some, he was a sinner, to others, a saint. To everyone, he was unforgettable. This is not just the story of a footballer. This is the story of football's most dangerous genius, a man who became a myth.
He was born in the dust of Villa Fiorito, a shantytown outside Buenos Aires, where dreams were rare and football was religion. Diego Armando Maradona didn't just play the game, he escaped through it. From the very beginning, the ball was his companion. He juggled oranges, bottles, anything that moved. To Diego, the streets were a training ground, and every touch was a promise of something greater. At just 10 years old, he joined Los Cebollitas, the youth team of Argentinos juniors. They went unbeaten in 136 matches, a streak that turned whispers of his talent into shouts of destiny. By 15, he was no longer a boy with a dream. He was a professional. In 166 games for Argentinos juniors, he scored 116 goals. Each strike carried the weight of Villa Fiorito, each celebration a reminder of where he came from. He was a street kid with a gift from the gods, and the streets never left him.
By 1981, Diego was a national treasure. Boca Juniors gave him a stage. Barcelona gave him a spotlight. But neither could contain the storm. At Boca, he fulfilled a childhood dream, choosing passion over paycheck when he rejected River Plate's money for the roar of La Bombonera. In his first season, he delivered the league title, electrifying Argentina with goals and genius. Then came Barcelona. In 1982, they paid a world record fee of $7.6 million to bring Maradona to Spain. No player had ever cost so much. The boy from Villa Fiorito was now the most expensive footballer in history, and he delivered flashes of brilliance. In 2 seasons, he scored 38 goals in 58 games. Dazzling against Real Madrid, humiliating defenders with his dribbling, and giving Barcelona a swagger they had lacked. He won the Copa del Rey, the Spanish Super Cup, and the Copa de la Liga. But the trophies were few, and the troubles were many. Maradona battled hepatitis, broken ankles from brutal tackles, and relentless media scrutiny. He was targeted by defenders, hunted by journalists, and suffocated by expectations. Barcelona wanted a savior. Diego was still just a man.
The storm broke in May 1984. Barcelona faced Athletic Bilbao in the Copa del Rey final. The match ended in defeat, but the real drama came after the whistle. Bilbao's players taunted Maradona, mocking his injuries. Diego snapped. He launched into a furious attack, headbutts, kicks, punches. The pitch became a battlefield. Cameras captured the chaos. It was one of the ugliest scenes in Spanish football history. Barcelona suspended him. The relationship was broken. The most expensive player in the world was now expendable. Years later, Maradona admitted Barcelona was a turning point. He said, "Barcelona didn't understand me. I wanted to leave and they wanted me gone. It wasn't football, it was politics, pressure, and pain." He remembered the fight not with shame, but with defiance. To him, it was survival in a hostile world. Barcelona saw the brilliance, but they also saw the chaos. And when Napoli came calling, Diego found not just a club, but a city that mirrored his soul. In Spain, he was a star. In Italy, he would become a god. In 1984, Diego Maradona arrived in Naples. The city was poor, chaotic, mocked by the North, and starved of football glory.
But when the world's most expensive player stepped onto the San Paolo pitch, Naples found its messiah. Over 7 seasons, he played 188 Serie A matches, scoring 81 goals and creating 30 assists. He was not just a scorer. He was the architect of Napoli's rise. Every pass, every dribble, every free kick carried the weight of a city desperate for respect. In 1987, he delivered the impossible, Napoli's first ever Serie A title. The celebrations lasted for weeks. Murals of Diego appeared on walls, babies were named after him, and the city erupted in joy. He repeated the miracle in 1990, proving it was no fluke. In between, he lifted the UEFA Cup in 1989, Napoli's first European trophy, scoring and assisting throughout the campaign. Journalist Gianni Minà would later say, in Naples, Maradona was not a player. He was a god who walked among men. And Diego himself admitted, Naples was my salvation. They embraced me when Barcelona rejected me. I gave them victories, and they gave me love.
But the weight of worship is heavy. And in Naples, Diego was worshipped like a god, but lived like a man on the edge. The parties got louder, the nights got longer. He was often seen stumbling out of clubs at dawn, missing training sessions, arriving late or not at all. The media hounded him, but the city protected him. Napoli's ultras would block journalists from getting too close. The club turned a blind eye because as long as Diego delivered on Sunday, everything else was forgiven. But behind the curtain, the cracks were widening. Maradona's ties to the Camorra, the Neapolitan mafia, grew deeper. He was photographed with known mobsters, allegedly supplied with drugs, women, and protection. He was untouchable, but also trapped. He once said, I wanted to leave Naples, but I couldn't. His phone was tapped, his movements were tracked, and in 1991, the facade shattered. After a match against Bari, he tested positive for cocaine. The ban was swift, 15 months. The fall was brutal. He fled Italy under a storm of scandal, addiction, and legal threats. The man who had lifted Napoli to heaven was now exiled in disgrace. But in Naples, they didn't burn his image, they lit candles beneath it. Former teammate Ciro Ferrara recalled, he wasn't just our captain, he was our leader, our inspiration. He made us believe we could beat anyone, and the fans mourned him like a fallen saint because he had given them more than football. He had given them dignity. Years later, when Maradona died in 2020, Naples gave him something eternal. They renamed the San Paolo Stadium, the ground where he scored, soared, and sanctified Napoli's rise, to the Stadio Diego Armando Maradona, a cathedral for their god. He didn't just win titles, he rewrote the soul of a city. In Naples, he is not a memory, he is a myth, eternal, untouchable, and forever theirs.
Mexico, 1986. The world was watching, and Diego Maradona was ready to perform a miracle. Argentina arrived with hope, but not certainty. The squad was solid, the tactics sharp, but the magic belonged to one man. In 7 games, he gave the world a performance that still echoes through time. By the quarterfinal, destiny had chosen its stage: Argentina versus England. It was more than football. It was political. Just 4 years earlier, the Falklands War had scarred both nations. In April 1982, Argentine forces invaded the islands they called Las Malvinas. Britain responded with a naval armada, and after 74 days of brutal fighting,
Argentina surrendered. 649 Argentines and 255 Britons were dead. For Argentina, it was humiliation. For England, it was triumph. And for millions of Argentines, the wound never healed. So when Argentina faced England in Mexico City in 1986, the pitch became a battlefield of memory. Every tackle carried the weight of war. Every cheer echoed with defiance. For Argentines, this was not just a quarterfinal, it was a chance to reclaim dignity. And then came the moment. A bouncing ball, a leap, a punch. Maradona's left fist flicked the ball past Peter Shilton and into the net. The referee didn't see it. The goal stood. Diego called it La Mano de Dios, the hand of God. He later explained, it was a little with the head of Maradona and a little with the hand of God.
To England, it was betrayal. To Argentina, it was divine justice. England's coach, Bobby Robson, was furious. He spat out his anger. It was the hand of a rascal, not the hand of God. Shilton was 6 foot tall, Maradona was 5'5", and he beat him with his hand. That was cheating, pure and simple. The English press branded him a villain. But in Buenos Aires, he was hailed as a hero who had struck back against their former enemy. One Argentine fan later said, "That day, Diego gave us justice. He gave us back the Malvinas." Minutes later, he erased all doubt. Picking up the ball in his own half, Maradona danced past 5 English defenders, leaving them in his wake before slotting home what FIFA would later call the goal of the century. Commentator Victor Hugo Morales screamed in disbelief, "Barilete Cosmico! What planet did you come from?" In 4 minutes, Maradona became a villain, a hero, and a god. Every myth has its shadow, and for Diego Maradona, the shadow was not just scandal, it was conflict. By the early 1990s, he was no longer just a player. He was an empire unto himself, surrounded by his own trainer, his own medical staff, his own press team. Napoli's managers often complained that Diego lived in a world apart, untouchable, unreachable, impossible to control. Coaches grumbled that he skipped training. Teammates whispered that he disappeared for days. And directors admitted they bent rules just to keep him happy. He was adored by the fans, but inside the club, he was a storm. The absences began to cost Napoli dearly. Key matches were lost because Diego was missing, sometimes injured, sometimes suspended, sometimes simply absent. In 1991, after testing positive for cocaine, FIFA imposed a 15-month ban. It was one of the harshest punishments ever handed down to a superstar. Maradona later claimed, "FIFA wanted to make an example of me. They never forgave me for being outspoken." He was the hand. He was the heart. And for one summer in Mexico, he was the hurricane that swept the world. Indeed, Diego was often at war with football's rulers. He accused FIFA of corruption, of protecting certain nations, and of exploiting players. He once said, "FIFA is a mafia. They don't care about football, they care about money." These words made headlines, but they also made enemies. Every suspension, every fine, every disciplinary action seemed heavier because it was Maradona. Diego Armando Maradona's career was a tapestry of brilliance and chaos, but his legacy is pure glory. Across his journey, he scored over 300 goals and delivered countless assists, each one a reminder of his genius. He won league titles with Boca Juniors and Napoli, lifted the Copa del Rey with Barcelona, and crowned it all with the World Cup in 1986.
In Naples, he gave the city 2 Serie A titles, a Coppa Italia, a Supercoppa, and the UEFA Cup. No player had ever transformed a club, a city, and a nation the way Diego did. What made him unique was not just the trophies, but the way he played. Even when overweight, even when slowed by injuries, he could still conjure brilliance. A single touch, a sudden dribble, a free kick bent like poetry. Maradona could change a game in an instant. He once admitted, standing in a packed stadium, that he was overwhelmed by the support. "I thought I had lost everything, but when I saw the people, I realized I still had love. And that is more than football." Modern footballers, even those who surpassed his statistics, bowed to his legend. Lionel Messi called him eternal. Cristiano Ronaldo praised his magic. Neymar said, "He was more than a player. He was an inspiration." To them, Maradona was proof that football is not just sport, but art, rebellion, and soul. When he died in November 2020, the world mourned as if a king had fallen. In Argentina, 3 days of national mourning were declared. In Naples, thousands filled the streets, chanting his name, lighting candles, and painting murals. The São Paulo Stadium was renamed the Stadio Diego Armando Maradona. Tributes poured in from every corner of the globe. Pelé said, "One day we'll play together in heaven." Messi wrote simply, "He leaves us, but he does not leave us. Diego is eternal." There will never be another player like him. Others may score more goals, win more titles, or train harder, but no one will ever embody football the way Maradona did. Its beauty, its chaos, its rebellion, its poetry. He was the boy from Villa Fiorito who became a god in Naples, a savior in Mexico, and a legend for the world. He was brilliance and disaster, saint and sinner, hand and heart. And in death, he became eternal. From Villa Fiorito to the World Cup, Diego Armando Maradona did not just play football. He became football's greatest story and inspired millions. His story is ours to remember. Share this journey, subscribe for more, and help keep the myth eternal.